Hello and welcome to the conversation in our new regular slot on a Monday morning. Here we'll review the weekend's action and the big fallout from the big stories. This weekend, Brentford batter Arsenal to pile the pressure back on Mikel Arteta. Chelsea, Manchester United and Liverpool all make stunning statements of intent to suggest we're in for the most exciting title race for years. Who needs Messi? Watford stunned the unbelievers with a wonderful win over Aston Villa. Rafa recovers after his shaky start. Sees Everton side beat Southampton and wake up West Ham. Well, they certainly did, didn't they, to smash Newcastle 4-2 at St James's Park. And of course, the big story, Spurs beat City without Kane. Let's start there. All of the papers have Son Heung-min's winner on the back page, along with the fact that Spurs, who finished 7th last season and have had negativity swirling around them all summer, beat City without Kane. The Mirror back page is self-explanatory. Who needs Harry, it says, next to match winner Son Heung-min. We do, it says, besides Jack Grealish. Underwhelming, it has to be said, on the day. Martin Samuel in the Mail on Sunday says, perhaps this was a performance that might persuade Daniel Levy to part that £150 million is more valuable to his club in their present economic state than one admittedly fabulous player. Certainly it is the performance that should persuade Sheikh Mansour to give Spurs what they want for their greatest asset while there is still time in the window. He's right, isn't he? For all the talking, Troy, we've all watched enough football to know how these things end. And Spurs showed right there that they will survive.
Listen, I don't think that was ever in doubt, to be totally honest, Darren. And good morning. The doom and gloom around Tottenham Hotspur has been there for quite a while now, hasn't it, in regards to players that may be leaving, the managerial process, lots of other things influencing more than just Harry Kane. But, you give them their due yesterday. Apart from that first 15 minutes, I thought they were very, very good. I've got to be honest, it was almost like Man City stepped off the gas for some reason or another. So, yeah, it was a little bit about Spurs, but it was also a little bit almost about Man City stepping off the gas a little bit. Many conspiracy theorists may say that they did that on purpose to prove to the hierarchy that Harry Kane is absolutely vital and they need to go and chase him now. But it was a thoroughly entertaining game and an excellent performance from Tottenham, I must say.
Yeah, just want to go back to Friday night as well. The Sunbet page was, well, for around about 20 hours at least, a collector's item for Brentford's fans. What did you think of their win over Arsenal?
What a great way to start the Premier League season. For me, I thought it was almost designed. Put Friday night, big game on, first time Brentford been in the Premier League, fans coming back. It was almost designed that way with a hint of there could be an upset here. And Arsenal, every single problem that we've known Arsenal have over the last few years, particularly defensively, even though they have a £50 million man in there now in Ben White, I honestly thought that they looked like they had no idea. They had no style, no pattern, while Brentford were very much up and at them, but in a good way, in a style that, they'd obviously been using, Thomas Frank had been using for quite a long while. And they got their just desserts. They were fantastic on the night. Although, I've got to say this, I must admit, I thought the second goal should have been disallowed. I thought it was a foul on the keeper. People are keeping quiet about that. I'm not sure what VAR was looking at there or if it looked at it, but he was definitely being restrained. But let's not anything take away from what was a magnificent night for Brentford, not only on the pitch, but off the pitch as well.
Liverpool are back to being watertight at the back, with Van Dijk making his first appearance since last October and Mo Salah becoming the first player to score on the opening weekend for 5 years in a row. Troy, what did you think of them?
I thought they were okay. I didn't think it was anything special. I thought Norwich started brightly and also maybe saw some of Liverpool's weak signs. So even maybe exposed Van Dijk a little bit, who's obviously got to get back up to speed. But ultimately, I think Norwich are one of those sides that will struggle again. And Liverpool picked them off all at the right times and showed that actually, they were, without signings as such or signings on the park, they look like a very good side again and a side that is working their way towards some of their best football. So as clinical as ever. You look at it again, and Mo Salah, not only in scoring, but one of the assists, the second assist, well, the first assist was absolutely accidental, by the way. But, having Jota, Firmino, Salah, and obviously Mane looking like they're ready is really, it's a big plus for Liverpool. And obviously at the back with Van Dijk coming back in, that must instill so much confidence in everyone around him as well.
This is good in the Telegraph by John Azelwood. He says, why refreshed Liverpool can win the title, regain the title. He says that they've got a good defensive depth. They now have Konate on the bench, Matip alongside Van Dijk, Gomez also at Jurgen Klopp's disposal, Tsimikas coming in for Andrew Robertson at left back. What did you think of them?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, the thing is keeping them fit, to be totally honest, because for some reason, Liverpool have a record of injuries right across not just their back line, but midfield. But definitely the depth of the squad is there. I would still question probably their midfield scenario and shake-up. Good enough to beat Norwich, but is it good enough to contest against the top sides? But I think everyone that stepped foot on the pitch, did their job. I would imagine that Jurgen Klopp would be happy to have drawn Norwich away first off. As a good test for the side, but not one that was going to really, push them as hard as maybe some of the other fixtures the top sides had. But he'll be pleased with everyone that came in, and he'll be pleased with the fact that they scored a round of goals as well. And it will look good for him as they step forward into more challenging games, I would say.
I was at Chelsea at the weekend. There really was a lot to like about the way Thomas Tuchel's side tore Crystal Palace apart. There's my match report in the mirror. I'm allowed to, it's my show. The European Championships were 3-0 up after an hour. Tuchel waving his men on still to score more. Lukaku starts next week against Arsenal. They're going to be immense, aren't they?
Yeah, I worry about Chelsea. And when I say I worry, I mean I worry how good they're going to be. Obviously, you can tell it. I mean, it's not unusual for them to beat Palace and beat Palace comfortably at Stamford Bridge. But there's an aura about them now as a squad. You can kind of put multiple players in multiple places and not affect the team. And I think that's the thing that Tuchel wanted, was to be able to bring that kind of quality all around his front line, all around his midfield. And as we've seen with, the way that I'm going to use the term tinkered with his defence. He's also got, Trevor Chalobah. What a story that is, by the way. Coming in, Christensen.
Can you just talk about Trevor Chalobah? Because you're a dad of a player who's come through the system. What's that moment like when he scores his first goal?
Well, I'm going to take you back to a few days before that, and playing in a European Super Cup final and not looking out of place at all one bit, was just everything that he would have hoped for. It's been a challenging journey for him. He's been out on a number of loans, and they're always buying players at the back, Chelsea, aren't they? And always looking for that experienced type player as well. And he looked like a mature centre-half on Wednesday night in the Super Cup final. And then just seeing his reaction after scoring, for me, that is years and years and years of dedication to your trade. And, defenders don't score often, or, majority of defenders don't score often. So to do that in the manner that he did, I think you saw everything come true there for him. And it's an unbelievable moment that I'm not even sure that Trevor will be able to describe himself, but it's a club that he's worked so hard at, and when you are out on loan, sometimes you feel really distant from that club as well. But obviously, Tuchel's seen something in him, has said that he I think there's been some bids for him. Said he doesn't want him to go anywhere. And listen, there will be challenges again that'll be a little bit more tougher than Crystal Palace, I imagine, on the opening day of the season. But to cap it off with that goal was just outstanding. One of the stories of the weekend for me, that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just stick with the mirror. David Anderson says that Man United can start to dream big after a fabulous win over Leeds and the arrival of Raphael Varane. They really were impressive, Troy. How do you see that one?
Oh, frightening, I thought Man United were. But again, I thought Leeds would have come with a different approach than last year, knowing that they had been smashed 6-2 on the same ground and how much that rivalry means to both sets of supporters. But to be honest with you, with Pogba on outstanding form, with Fernandes finishing in the way that he did, with Mason Greenwood looking like a number 9, let's say that for a start. I thought Man United were purring. And like I say, there's still a few of them to come back into that squad as well to make that squad again as top as it can be. Sancho will take some time to get himself into the swing of things, but when you saw Pogba and Fernandes in that kind of form that makes you fear what they can achieve. For me, Man United at times it will be the games when they're supposed to win and they may again not treat the opposition with the amount of respect that they should. But what a statement, what a start, and it will put fear into many. I think that performance and the performance of certain individuals as well.
I must say, I really did like Everton's comeback under Rafa. I'm sure you did too. I wonder why. I'm trying to think why.
Yeah, I must admit. Yeah, so I've got a new team now, and it
Santos was fantastic.
I thought he was good as a debut. I thought he was very good because what's he there for? He's there to deliver balls into the box. He's there to add some creativity, but he's also there to be that person in front of Seamus Coleman, and provide that level of security for Seamus Coleman as well. I was worried at halftime because they got booed off at halftime, and I think fans were waiting because obviously, the idea of Rafa Benitez managing at Goodison Park has never been kind of accepted, but he got a rapturous reception, to be totally honest. But they looked like they were.
Were you surprised by that?
Sorry?
Were you surprised by that reception?
No, because there is the fans that enter the ground, and there is the fans on social media. We've got to now start to distance those people that are on social media that are spouting their negativity to the ones that actually go through the gates and want to support their team. And I think that's what I saw on Saturday. And yeah, they booed up a little bit disconnected. Defensively, we looked a bit all over the place, but what the mark of a manager is what he does during that 15 or so minutes that he has. And he tinkered with his side, and he obviously put a rocket up them a little bit because they came out and, to get a goal 2 minutes after halftime was the thing that kind of ignited the rest of the performance. And I thought they were, as a first game again, with Richarlison not contributing to pre-season, obviously going off doing other things, winning gold medals and whatever he wanted to do there. And Dominic Calvert-Lewin, they'd only just started training as well, and I think there's more to come from the side. I think they need to stabilise in certain areas, but yeah, as a first day victory at home, Rafa would have wanted that and would have loved that.
Yeah, I do think it will start to convince fans that it isn't necessarily big money signings that's going to turn things around. It's astute, sensible standards signings that give the side an identity and kind of play into the way that Rafa wants to play.
Well, I think Andrew's kind of said in an interview a couple of days before that he's not the marquee signing that everyone wanted to see, but he will show them on the park what he can bring to them. If you're looking for someone to put balls in the box, if you're looking for someone to work hard up and down the line, if you're looking for someone to help others get through their game, he's kind of the perfect fit. And I don't think Rafa has to work too hard at that. So again, I saw on Saturday that, I hear a lot of this a lot, as long as you play for the shirt, as long as you give it your all, everything else is a bonus. And I think they saw that immediately, the Everton fans. But not only that, they then saw the quality in what he was delivering into the box as well. And there were a couple of occasions where maybe a sharper Calvert-Lewin may have got on the end of those, but he will be rubbing his hands, Calvert-Lewin, but Damari Gray, a little bit of credit for him as well, because Southampton's right back, they dropped Carl Walker-Peters and just say Liverani, is it? Liverani, I think it is. Livramento. He had a very good first half, a very, very good first half. And as a right back, he was not only solid defensively, but he betrayed the right flank really well. And I think Damari Gray gave him something to think about in the second half, which meant that he couldn't get high up the pitch as much. But he'll be a good signing for Southampton as well. So one to note in the books for sure.
West Ham, wow. What a win to ease any concerns the fans might have had that they hadn't been active in the transfer market. This is the sun, not bad for right back. Mikel Antonio joining Paolo Di Canio as West Ham's joint leading Premier League scorer with his 47th Hammers League goal for 4-2. West Ham's joint top scorer last season on 10 with Souček. What do you think of him, the way that he's progressed, and do you think West Ham need another striker in this window?
Souček winds me up. because he was on Friday night. He was in my fantasy league team, and then I thought, nah, he's not going to have the season that he had the year before, is he? I think he's going to struggle. You know, that second season syndrome. As good a midfielder who goes about his business really quietly, by the way, as there is out there in the Premier League. You know, got another goal. Looked to be in the right places at the right time all the time, and that for me is the mark of a really, really good central midfielder. You know, you maybe not be purring over them, but when you recall the game, you go back and you remember the bits that they were involved in, and he's again going to be massively important. They do need another centre forward. You know, let's look at Mikel Antonio's track record. When he's playing, he's probably one of the hardest centre forwards to mark, to be totally honest. His pace. You look at his goal yesterday and the desire that he had to get into that forward position to finish off after missing a penalty, by the way. He could have been sulking a little bit, but he didn't. He was rampant. But, you know, there's always an injury in him, unfortunately. And I'm going to touch wood for him because I'd love him to have a season without injury, because I think he can be anything that he wants to be, Mikel Antonio. But if you're going for top places, and West Ham are in the Europa League, you've got to remember as well, you've got to sign that additional centre forward to make sure that you have the protection for him if he does break down. Mention for Ben Rama as well. I think he had a tough season last season, and when Jesse Lingard came in, you know, all the plaudits were with what Jesse was doing. The reason I don't think Jesse Lingard is so pivotal to West Ham for this season is Ben Rama standing up and coming in and showing his true quality. So it'll be interesting to see. I still think they do need to go into the transfer market, though. So whatever West Ham fans are thinking, I think they know that squad needs bolstering to attack everything that they need to attack, you know, for this season. They came so close, but they've got a bigger challenge now because they've got Europa League on their plate as well.
Do you think maybe Jesse Lingard's made a mistake not going back?
Was it in his hands, to be totally honest? You know, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer says he wants him to be around. I think that performance on Saturday proved that I don't think there's a space for Jesse Lingard at Manchester United. And, you know, it's one of those where you almost, do you want to push for it? Do you want to push for the move? Do you want to be that person? But he had football last year, and he had football that got him back into the England setup and so close to being part of the Euros. So for me, I think Jesse's got to now evaluate his career. Remember, he's had a very difficult time personally as well. So maybe that comes into the equation. But I just think he's got to evaluate his career and think, you know what, I proved that I should be starting week in and week out. And that's just not going to happen at Manchester United.
What else has caught your eye this weekend?
Two bits, and unfortunately one of them is around racism again, which it's a story that came to light this morning, and it's about some youngsters, the academy players at Vancouver Whitecaps in Canada, where there's allegedly a racist attack on 3 of their players, and it's not in a footballing setting. It's in I think they were out on Saturday night, and it's been deemed as a racially motivated attack. Now, I know what it's like when you're a player, no matter what level you are, you often get targeted because people think, oh, look at those footballers over there. And this story, I think, may get a little bit of prominence because it's kind of what is happening at the moment in our world that I think sometimes people are trying to ignore. One of the players has been taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, but they'll still require surgery. So we haven't got the full story. But for me, it's kind of everything that's going on at the moment that I think sometimes we're trying to try and ignore a little bit. And a couple of things that touched me a lot along with this story. Bakary Sacco came on to unbelievable applause on Friday night. And rightly so. And obviously got great plaudits from the Spurs fans as well, which shows that, you know, in regards to humanity, there are some really great people out there. But he was constantly booed every time he touched the ball. And I think you've got to think about what those boos are. Jadon Sancho was booed on Saturday, you know. And for me, if we're not going to talk about these things now at this most important moment, then I think we're failing those players.
Troy, do you think that was that those boos were different?
Yeah,
they were in a football context. Once the initial support was given at the start of the game.
No, I don't believe they were in it. Sorry, Darren. I don't believe they were in a football context. You know, they weren't many, but they must have been right underneath the gantry because you could hear them quite loud and clear. And for me, that was a direct kind of, and people will say, well, how do you know, and how do you this, and how do you that? But they were directed at Saka for a purpose, as they were directed at Jadon Sancho. We've also heard Man City fans and Leeds fans apparently singing that Sancho, Rashford, Saka, let their country down. You almost expect those kind of things, but does that make it right? Does it make it any better? And just the booing I heard, and particularly on Friday night, that wasn't picked up at all by anybody, leaves me a little bit worried. And while he will get massive amount of support, Saka, there's still that element. You've got to remember, they're probably the element that are still booing the taking of the knee, which we've gone quiet on as well.
Okay. The only thing I wanted to point out from this weekend, actually, it's quite a sad story as well. The Nigerian winger Samuel Kalu collapsed in the 6th minute of the Bordeaux game, the League One match against Marseille yesterday, Sunday. He was substituted after briefly returning to the pitch. So actually, it's a happy story in so much as there was a positive ending to it. He came on and he went off again in the 14th minute. But back to English football, and Troy, you almost missed last season, don't you, when you had games every day? And just a word also about the fans as well, because I think they made such a wonderful difference this weekend.
We've forgotten, haven't we? We've forgotten football matches with grounds, that were nearly full, and what the fans bring as well. And I think the kind of, again, I'm going to show my allegiance now to Everton. Dominic Calvert-Lewin wrapped it up by saying, his goal was almost like a debut goal because the reception that he got and the way that the fans celebrated it as well. Last season he was scoring goals in abundance, but he was, running around to an empty stadium with, I don't know, maybe someone up in a stand going, yay! And, you don't get the pump of it all. But I think if you were to interview all players, Monday morning now, they would be telling you how much those fans pumped them up, how much they got their adrenaline going, how much they pushed them on, how much some of the interaction amongst them could be heard. It's just it was a beautiful thing to witness, and to be a part of at times. So, maybe we were getting a little bit too happy with our football and maybe not respecting the importance of fans enough. But this weekend has kind of proved it, from the first kickoff at Brentford on Friday night to yesterday's final game, Man City Spurs. It was just an unbelievable to have that feeling back again.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to get that feeling next weekend because we're back on Friday to look ahead to match day 2. We'll see you then.